So EMDR is a type of trauma-based therapy that was developed to work with veterans suffering from PTSD. It has since been proven to be effective through research with anxiety, depression, adjustment disorders. It's been effective with people suffering from OCD and borderline personality disorders, and basically anything that's not organically in the brain and likely developed due to external circumstances. So EMDR stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. The eye movement portion actually comes from rapid eye movement in sleep, which is the deepest sleep stage that we go into. During that time, your eyes are closed, they're moving back and forth quickly. Your brain is coding everything from today that is significant during that time into long-term memory storage. However, after we go through difficult life events, we typically don't sleep very well. So because of that, we never reach that REM sleep functioning. And so then because of that, those memories don't get stored in the long-term memory, they get stored in a much more active place, the working memory. And whenever that happens, our brain perfectly records everything that happened to us when it happened. So everything external, lights, sounds, smells, or anything external to the environment, but also internal, thoughts, feelings, or beliefs that developed because of that experience. So you can be triggered by either of those, external stimuli or internal stimuli. And so whenever that happens, it can feel like you're right back there, re-experiencing it for the first time every time with those same intense emotions, but also those same intense negative beliefs about yourself or the world that developed because of that experience. So it's not necessarily that the memory shows up every time, it's more those overwhelming experiences that show up again and again. So with EMDR, we actually simulate that same good brain functioning by literally having people do eye movements. They track my light bar here as it goes back and forth. We do that for about 20 to 25 seconds as they intermittently process those or reprocess those memories. And with that, that does two things. It helps to restore those memories into the long-term memory storage where there is no triggers or pairing or activation. So it totally takes away that feature for people. The second thing it helps their brain do is to reprocess those memories now with their older, wiser eyes now to see what are the ways they may have been blaming themselves, what are the falsehoods or untruths that have always seemed true, but when they hold it up to the light in processing, they're able to see for themselves how it no longer makes sense, it's no longer adaptable to them. And so with that, we're actually treating the cause of the anxiety or the depression or the other symptoms instead of the PTSD symptoms, instead of just the symptoms around it, which does alleviate the symptoms, but you don't see this backsliding of effectiveness that you sometimes see with other therapies that just target the symptoms and never get to the cause of that. And so because of that, people tend to not need to be in therapy for years and years. It's usually around 6 to 10 sessions. It could be a bit more than that, especially if people have a lot of complex and especially childhood trauma, but that's usually the ballpark is 6 to 10 sessions. Sessions run for about 45 minutes to an hour. And before we get into processing, we always start with stabilization. The first two sessions are always skills building, tools building, self-regulation, relaxation skills, visualization skills, ways to make the processing much more tolerable. And those skills people can use immediately in the everyday life. Again, those tend to be CBT skills, ACT skills, and anything regulating that way. And then after those two sessions, then we move into the processing. And that's where it's usually around 6 to 10 sessions from there. If people are counterindicated and they can't use the light bar, we have another option for bilateral stimulation. So if people have eye issues, tracking issues, they frequently get migraines or just makes them uncomfortable to do the eye movements, we can use buzzies. These just vibrate back and forth like a cell phone. They hold one in each hand, and that does the same bilateral stimulation or cross-body stimulation as the light without ever having to do the light. And this is also a research-based modality. Research does show, if possible, eye movements can have the best outcome, but these are close behind and work very well as well, especially for people who can't do the eye movements. And then for children, I tend to use sand trays. So I'll set you up over there and show you the sand tray. This is my sand tray. So I use this for children in EMDR processing. So the sand tray represents their world or their mind. And we're able to kind of set up the scene, the difficult scene or the traumatic scene, and play it out through the sand tray figures. And for children, it can be especially important to use figures because typically when we first start processing, it's more comfortable for them to kind of set it up as everything happens to the elephant or one of the figures. And then as we move through processing and they're able to get more and more healing, then they're able to kind of talk about it more as it relates to them. But playing it out through the figures is, again, another way of just working through the trauma and not accidentally not accidentally re-traumatizing them, and talking about it happening to them before they're ready. And then also for children, I use buzzies. It's really hard to get a child to attract the light bar for the significant amount of time you would need to be able to process. And so I just use the buzzies. I put them in their shoes as we work through the story or play through the scene of what happened. And processing for children tends to be best if done in like 10 to 15 minute increments. And so then the rest of the session, we're doing self-regulation skills, CBT skills, ACT skills, or social interaction skills.